If you're watching this video, you already know that this is the Tonex ONE, and you probably already know how powerful it is, but you also probably know how much is locked away inside this little thing that you just cannot get to. But now two companies have come along with a key that opens up this little magic box to let you control it in all sorts of ways. In this video, we're going to have a deep dive look at Xsonic Airstep TX, and we're going to compare it to the Pirate MIDI Polar range. Now, these are both fairly different products, but the main thing is they'll let you control the Tonex ONE, and they'll let you control every single aspect of it. You can also control the big Tonex pedal with it, but in this video, we're going to look at the Tonex ONE. We're going to do an A/B, we're going to look at all the different features, we're going to try and figure out which one's the best value for money, what gives you the most control, what's the easiest to use, and quite possibly what's the best for you. So let's get into it. So let's make the first thing we look at cost. I've googled the price of the Airstep, and this is the price it costs today in the UK. You can see it goes from £95 up to £117. So why don't we make it easy and we'll just call it 100 quid. Now the Pirate MIDI comes in 4 versions. Each one gives you a little bit more. So let's start with the basic version. We'll get into the differences in a second. But the Pico comes in at £43.50. The Mini comes in at £58. The Plus is £73. And the Max is £146. However, if you buy the Pico or the Mini, you will need a MIDI controller to go with it. So let's go with one of them and let's pick the Mini, simply because that's the one that I've got here. So the Mini cost me £58, and yes, I did buy that one. On top of that, I'll need a MIDI controller. The obvious MIDI controller is the M-Vave Chocolate Plus, and that one, on a quick Google search, costs anywhere from £12 to £32. So let's just call it 22, shall we? So if we add those prices up, it comes in a little bit less to get the Polar. You would save a little bit of money if you went for the Pico over the Mini. However, you'd lose the screen, and that's a really nice little feature, isn't it? Let's look at portability and compact size. Here's a photograph. You don't really need me to explain it, do you? The Tonex ONE's there for a size reference. Let's talk about apps. Now, both of these units have an app of sorts. The Airstep actually has an app that you download to your phone and you connect to the Airstep via MIDI. The Polar does it slightly differently. It does it via Wi-Fi because it's got its own little Wi-Fi network that you then log on to, and you use your browser. So anything that's got a browser on it can connect to your Polar. Whereas with the Airstep, you need something that's got an app, so a phone or a tablet. Whereas the Polar, you can connect with anything. Having said that, both of these have apps that are absolutely superb. I mean, really, really good. They both let you control every single aspect of the Tonex ONE. Let's have a quick look at the apps. We'll start with the Polar. It looks like this, and if you look down the left-hand side there, you can see all of the things you can control. There's the noise gate, compressor, EQ, reverbs, modulations. You can even control the rate of the modulation there. The delay, so you've got a global thing there. You can control your amps, global tap, all of your presets you can choose from. It's got Bluetooth control for the Chocolate and for the X-Vive MD1. Don't know what that is, but it's got it. And then you can do a custom Bluetooth device. So it does have Bluetoothy things on there. I'm not going to go into all the details on it, but the Polar one does also have MIDI control because obviously it's a MIDI device and not like the Airstep. We'll get into that in a second. And the slightly more expensive devices have got a couple of foot switches on them, and you can control and program them from the app as well. Okay, this is the Airstep app. You can see it's got just as much stuff on there and all the parameters you normally want to control. You've got your gate, again, your amp, cab, compression, modulation, delays, reverbs, etc., etc. Then you've got a settings button for all your other stuff. So you can see for yourself, both of those apps are really good and let you control all sorts of things. That means I'm not going to call a winner here. You've got to decide for yourself which you prefer, whether it's Bluetooth or whether it's a Wi-Fi thing. Now, if you've got the Wi-Fi thing, you can control something else with the Bluetooth. If you've got the Bluetooth, you can control something else with the Wi-Fi. What works best in your setup? I don't know. They both work fine. And to be honest, if I'm at a gig and it's live, then you don't need either. The caveat is if you buy the Polar Max, you don't need the Wi-Fi or an app at all because it's got a big screen, it's a big touch screen, and you can control everything from just that. Let's talk about control and using these in the wider situation of a bigger pedal board. So, the Tonex and the Airstep will link together. The Airstep will control the Tonex, and that's it. There's no other control beyond the Airstep and the Tonex. Yes, you can put an expression pedal into the Airstep and control something with a foot switch, but you can't control other devices. So if you've got an HX Stomp, if you've got another MIDI controlled device, you can't control it from that one foot switch. It's not programmable. It does exactly what it does, and that's it, no more. It's fixed, an absolute fixed point, okay? There's no programming. The Pirate MIDI, on the other hand, well, the clue is in the title. It's MIDI. And if it's MIDI, it means it can work within any sized MIDI environment. Okay, it doesn't have MIDI through, but all you do is put it at the end of your MIDI chain. And as long as you do that, you can control that Tonex through the Polar MIDI with anything you like. So for instance, if you've got a bigger pedal board like I have, I use the excuse that little background music interjection, that was the ice cream van in my street. Now, with the Chocolate, you can send multiple MIDI messages on multiple channels to more than one device. So you could talk to the Tonex on one channel, and you could talk to your HX Stomp on a different channel. And you could send them messages that this preset has this sound from the Tonex, and these things need to happen in the HX Stomp, and make it all happen from one press of one button. MIDI captains do that. All sorts of MIDI controllers will do that. Here's the other thing. If you've got a multi-effects, for instance, if you've got something like this, this is the Boss, this is the GT1000. It's rather a dusty GT1000, but you can use the MIDI control on the Pirate MIDI with your Tonex to replace the amplifiers in here. So this sounds great. The effects in here are great. The amplifiers, So if you use your Tonex, you can use the MIDI capabilities here into the Pirate MIDI to then control the Tonex. So you've got 20 captures from Tonex that you can use in any of the patches here. So you press a patch here, it does the effects in this, and it changes the sounds on your Tonex. That's a big, 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 big advantage of having the MIDI control. Therefore, because the possibilities of MIDI are so vast and the Pirate MIDI gives you access to all of that, and the Airstep creates a closed environment between itself and the Tonex and won't let anything else in or out, then obviously that one definitely goes to the Pirate MIDI, doesn't it? Let's have a look at the functionality of it, because this is where it really is important. This is what it's all about. So the Airstep, we'll start with that, has 5 buttons of its own, obviously. With the Pirate MIDI, you will need to bring your own buttons, whether that's a Chocolate or something else, or a bigger MIDI controller. But for now, let's have a look at this one. So you've got 5 buttons. 4 of them in the standard mode are for switching your presets. So this arranges your Tonex ONE into 5 banks of 4. That's your 20 sounds. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And to switch to your next bank up, you press 2 buttons together. Switch back down to a bank, you press the 2 buttons together there. Okay. To see which one you've got selected, you've got a little light above the button, and it will show you which of those 4 you're on, so that you know which bank you're on when you've selected up and down. A little green light will flash above one of these 5 switches, and that will keep flashing to show you which bank you're on. So bank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now effects mode's where it starts to get a little bit interesting. So to get into effect mode, you press that button, and then the little light in the eye goes green, and your other buttons will go green as well if something's switched on. So far, so good. Now, let's have a look at the diagram that Xsonic put out to show you exactly how that works. So there you go, you've got two presses. You've got a short press and a long press. So it shows you what happens. On a short press, you can turn the compression off or on with the first button. The second button turns your amp on and off. Why you'd want to do that, I really don't know. The third button turns your modulation on and off, but it's just the first modulation you've got set up in your preset, or if you haven't set one in your preset, it's just going to default to chorus. Then, if you want to change that effect from chorus to something else, you've got to use a long press to step through one at a time all of the other modulations. So for instance, if you want to turn your chorus on, you press effects mode, that one there, and that's your chorus, unless you've changed it in your preset, and that'll turn your chorus on. However, if you want to turn on your rotary speaker, which I believe is, and this is the other thing, you've got to remember what order they're in. I believe rotary is the fourth of the modulation effects. You've got to go from your preset into effects mode, then you've got to turn your modulation on, then you've got to hold it down once, long press, twice, long press, 3 times long press to get that modulation to change and to be the one you want. Then you've got to go back out of there and into your preset mode. Now, in the middle of a song, that's an absolute non-starter, isn't it? Next thing along is the tap tempo. Pretty straightforward. Yep, we all like a tap tempo. It's good that it's at least on the first layer. Then on the long presses, you can turn your gate on and off. I can't imagine ever wanting to turn my gate off, but never mind. Then you can turn your cab off or on. Why would you want to turn your cab on and off? Nah, I don't know. Then modulation type, like I've already said, and you can turn your delay on or off with a long press as well. And again, why you'd want to turn your delay on and off with a long press, I don't know. But then you go back into preset mode, and once you're in preset mode, all things are hunky-dory again, unless you do a long press. Now remember, the Airstep changes preset on the release, not on the press. So if you want to change a sound at a very specific time, you've got to have your foot on it and then release when you want it to change. So you've got to press the thing down before you want to change your sound. Now, if you've not got much time to do that, you've got to be accurate. But if you hold down a long press in preset mode, it will do something else. So if I hold down that one for too long, it turns a modulation on, but it doesn't change my sound. If I hold that one down for too long, it turns my amp off, but doesn't change a preset. You see why that could possibly be problematic. And those long presses are not that long. So knowing that you've got a release to change it in time, if you press that 2 beats beforehand so that you can release it on the last beat or on the first beat of the new bar, you could be in trouble and not have the sound that you're expecting. That is the reason I stopped using the Airstep and switched to the Pirate MIDI. I did have too many errors. You could call it pilot error, but you know what? If you're playing guitar and you're singing and you're watching the audience reaction, trying to figure out what song's next, pulling that up in the iPad, telling the rest of the band on the talkback what you're going to do, doing all the nods and things like that, the last thing you want to be doing is faffing about with long presses and having to do all that. You want something that changes your sound quickly with one press. The Pirate MIDI allows you to control your Tonex ONE with any MIDI controller. So you can use a chocolate, you can use one of these huge things, you can use your multi-effects unit, you can use your MIDI Captain, a MIDI Maestro, a Morningstar. You can use any device you like. Let's have a quick look at how you might control it though with something as simple and as inexpensive as the chocolate. Now, the way the chocolate works is you can either have just presets and you step through them, double press to go up a bank, double press to go down a bank. You can do it like that, or it's got 8 banks where you can program each button to do multiple MIDI messages on multiple channels, which is handy because you can then set this up to have a bank that changes presets, for instance. But you might want that preset to change something on your HX Stomp as well as on your Tonex. And you can do that. You just stick them on different MIDI channels. You could have a bank that just changes your basic sounds. Then you bank up and you've got a bank that changes effects. Bank up for another set of effects. Anything you like. It's entirely up to you how you program it when you're using this. That's the advantage. With the Pirate MIDI stuff and a MIDI controller, It's entirely up to you what you want each button to do. Okay, you've got complete control. So there you go. Tell me in the comments which of these floats your boat and why. Which one tickles your Tonex? And you can watch this video or this video in the meantime. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Cheers.